Hello everybody, right now we are going to go into a really interesting topic. Why your all or nothing mindset is killing your weight loss results. And I speak to so many people that but James, I'm just all or nothing. I've got to be all in, otherwise there's no point. And I'm not ready to be all in yet, but when I'm ready to be all in, I'm all in and there's nothing stopping me. Great. How's that worked out for you in the past? And this is what I always have to remind people of and remind myself of too, because when I say I used to be all or nothing, I used to be all or nothing as well, to a very, very big extreme. And this is what we want to change, because if we look at our past evidence of success, especially when it comes to weight loss, if we've always been all or nothing with our diets, then using that rule of inversion by going, well, if I've always ruined my diet and ended up being unhappy with my health because I'm an all or nothing person, therefore, maybe I want to become a patient person, someone who isn't all or nothing, someone who doesn't need to go yo-yo to yo-yo, diet to diet. Maybe if I can do that, maybe if I can change that belief of mine, then I can actually be successful. And that's exactly what this podcast and this YouTube video, wherever you are watching it, will hopefully help you with. And I'm going to go through some of the tools and the mindset changes that I went through in order to change my all or nothing mindset. Because we often think that an all or nothing mindset is actually a bad thing. Now, in my opinion, having an all or nothing mindset isn't necessarily a bad thing when it's used in the right way. Now, what I mean by that is we often think it's all as in I've got to hit everything, and if I don't hit anything, then I'm nothing. And we determine success on whether we hit 100% success, 95% failure. And a big part of this is because as people, we love an identity. Who we are, what we belong to, okay? Very tribal in a way, and in our own minds, we are very much like this as well. Nothing more so when it comes to diets. So imagine that you're doing, a particular diet, whether it's keto, whether it's Slimming World, Weight Watchers, whatever it is, soup diet, If you deviate from that, because you've got a set of parameters, a set of rules, or a set of expectations, and even if you're not doing anything conventional with a diet, even if you've just made up your own, the thing is, if we break from that, we feel like we've changed and come away from our identity. So let's say, for example, you love bread, but you no longer accept the fact that you will ever eat white bread again, that the only bread that you can have is sourdough or rye. And you're at a cafe and you go for the poached eggs on tops. Oh, sorry, but we've got no sourdough today, but we do have the white bread. Would you like it on that? And suddenly you go into this huge, inner panic. I can't have the white bread. The white bread will ruin my diet. Why can't they just have the sourdough like they always have? And then suddenly either one, you skip it, go without, and you're just stressing, or secondly, you have the white bread and suddenly you failed your diet, and for the rest of the weekend, you just think, I'm rubbish. Why couldn't I do this? Why did I have to say yes? Why didn't I just go without and have the coffee? And we place so much emphasis on our identity, and this is one of the biggest reasons why we are all or nothing, is because we have that belief that we must be. And this is one of the things that we really want to undo, is the belief that we have to belong to a certain diet. And it's remembering that actually, rather than us dictating our life towards a diet, we want that diet to revolve and be determined by our life. And a lot of this comes from that mindset of progress needs to be painful. Progress requires sacrifice. And do you know what? Yeah, there is some variation of sacrifice when it does come to progress, but not to the extent that we perceive. And what I always say is that you will achieve so much more being consistent at 70 to 80% every single day, rather than trying to be 100% for 3 weeks. Okay, and this is what people fail to realize, that it is a life of progress rather than perfection. Because if you can hit 70 to 80% of what you're working towards for like 12 months, like ideally it's like 10 years, but when I say to people like, oh, well, let's think about the results and the gains from like 3, 5, 10 years, it's too far into the future. We want it all right now. So let's just strip it back and go 12 months. A year goes so fast, right? But if you could be 70, 80% for that 12 months, you will get life-changing results in comparison to trying to be 100% for 3 weeks to then go, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then to go completely off the wagon to then start trying to be 100% again. And this is what we fail to realize. This is what we don't understand. And this is what I never used to understand myself, to the point where, I went without any chocolate, and I'm a massive chocoholic. Cadbury's all day. But I went for over a year without any chocolate, okay? I ate Special K bars every single day. I ate between 12 and 18 Special K bars every single day because they were healthy, in inverted commas, if you're not watching this video. And I ate drastically more calories having that than I did as if I just had a Cadbury's caramel. And that's all I ever wanted. And then when I realised that, do you know what, I'm miserable, absolutely miserable, just having the Special K rather than having an actual caramel, then I suddenly started eating the caramel again. But because I'd restricted for so long and built this identity of this, oh, James is the most committed, resilient, all or nothing guy, it was my identity, that suddenly my all or nothing, what's the opposite of being all? Totally all in. Suddenly, you're totally out of it. So I definitely made up for those 12 months of not eating caramels in a very short space of time. And all it did was damage my relationship with food even more. And I used to be the exact same with exercise. So one of my goals was to run a marathon. I ran a marathon and I was like, great, I want to now do another marathon. But because I'd done a marathon, it wasn't extreme enough for me. So I ran 5 back to back. And another thing was like with a triathlon. I wanted to do a triathlon. So instead of just doing a regular triathlon, I did 3 Ironman triathlons back to back. Like, if that's not the definition of being all or nothing, then I don't know what is. Now, if I can change that using this mindset and these tools, then hopefully you can too. It just takes time. And it is about being all in on you, but it's about changing the perception of what success looks like. Because if you can be all in on you, so you're important and you want to learn more about yourself, you want to learn more about your emotions, your triggers, your taste buds, then actually go all in on that. Because then you can recognize that you might want a bit of white bread, that you might want a pizza, that you might want a chocolate bar. And because you can recognize that and start to accept that, you can start to move forward with that in your diet rather than thinking, well, I just won't have any of it ever again. Because again, it comes back to those expectations of what success looks like. And success isn't being able to go without for as long as possible. Success is being able to go with, but carry on the journey. That's the difference. And that's what we've got to keep working on. Because we often think that my diet needs to be perfect. We often think that our actions need to be perfect, otherwise we haven't done good enough. But what is perfect? Perfection is simply just an illusion of choice. Because you might have a perception of what a perfect diet for you is, or what a perfect car might be, or what a perfect partner might be. But to your next door neighbour, to another family member, to anybody else, perfection is completely different. So if perfection is simply just a thought process and a belief and a choice, then that must mean we can then therefore change that belief and choice, because we can always change and we are always evolving anyway. So that just means we want to put more focus and more attention on the beliefs that are holding ourselves back to then a belief that will move us forward instead. Because, in fact, I've written this down here in my notes, and this is really important. Instead of thinking that my diet isn't perfect, therefore I am not good enough, and therefore I am not good at dieting, realize that your diet isn't perfect because there's no such thing as perfect. And that's simply because life isn't perfect. We go through difficult times, we go through stresses, we go through uncomfortable moments. So we should never have the expectation that life is always going to be happy and good. We know that because we've experienced that so much, we therefore accept it. So let's just take the exact same principle and mindset and belief about life and attach it to that diet. Because if we do that, you'll be amazed at just how far you can go with that consistency and how much more enjoyable these moments can be. Because again, we often think that health and that about being perfect and all or nothing is purely about food. But what if an perfect lifestyle meant you could enjoy your food, you can enjoy your social occasions, you can enjoy your family meals, you could enjoy, just a chocolate bar for yourself if you just desired one? What if perfect meant you could have the perfect balance? And that perfect balance was aligned in a way where you could still move forward with your weight loss. And rather than being perfect, instead you worked at permanent results. So rather than a perfect process, you focus on permanent results. And that's the difference. That's what we want to build towards, everybody. Because if we can bridge the gap between all or nothing, and we can then reduce the difference between the highs and the lows, and we can work within this middle ground, this sweet spot, so the extreme mindset isn't as big as it was, and then the negative response of then not being perfect isn't as big, then actually we always move forward. And the beautiful thing about this is that our new lows become our old highs. And this is what we think about when we think, oh, well, I'm really stuck. I failed a diet. I'll start again Monday. I'll start again next month. Do you know what? I've had some bad news. I'm going to be low for a couple of months. These are the beliefs we put on ourselves based on what, society might tell us that we should do, but also as well what we tell ourselves. And if we can then reduce that bounce back period, let's say, for example, instead of it being Monday today and you have a chocolate bar and then you go, oh, I'll start again Monday next week, rather than it being a week bounce back period because of high expectations, what if we reduce the expectations so we can reduce the bounce back period to then it not just being a day, because a day, you've just improved your bounce back by 7 times because we've gone from a week to a day. So then now we go from a day to an hour, to 5 minutes, to simply, I had an unplanned biscuit. Okay, cool, let me just carry on with the rest of my day. Rather than, I had an unplanned biscuit, let me have the whole pack, and then let me have the takeaway, and then let me carry on for another day and another day until suddenly I feel like, right, I'm ready to go again with perfect expectations. And this is what we want to continue to reinforce, is that actually it's progress, not perfection. Because when we do have that perfection mindset, and I'm going to finish with one of my favorite analogies, and I want you to imagine you're driving to work and you get a flat tire. You don't get out of the car in utter rage and frustration and slash your other 3 tires on the car. That would be crazy, right? Instead, you get your tire changed, you change it yourself, whatever it is, and you carry on with the rest of your day. You get to work, you get to wherever you're going. But what we do with our diet when we have this perfection mindset is we pop our emotional tires and we just think, what's the point? I'm rubbish at this, I've failed at this, I might as well. Whereas if we just change the tire in the moment and carry on and look forward, you'll be amazed at just how much further you can go. So thank you so much for listening to our second episode. Let me know what your key takeaway was on this. either share it to your story and tag me on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube, pop it in the comments, and I would love to know what your takeaways are. Thank you.